Heyo, Baby Popcorn here. Yesterday was February 12th and there was a huge PTS update. Now I'll be reading over the dev notes, so this may take a good minute to cover. So I'll link the timestamps of these specific parts of the update, so you can directly go into whichever content you like to hear first. And I'll be sure to link the patch notes as well. Okie doke, let's look at the new content. There are 3 new Empire-specific carbines being added. Also, before we start, just like any other test server editions, things will be changed. So please keep that in mind when watching this video. The devs even said at the beginning of the update post, and I quote, "These weapons are still work in progress and lack finished attachments, aesthetic polish, and may receive tuning adjustments prior to release." Again, with that in mind, here are the new carbines. Now we have the VEC Horizon. It's for the Vanu Sovereignty. The controllable Horizon carbine fires a horizontal fan of 3 pellets from the hip and a tighter vertical fan of 3 pellets while aiming down sights. Okay, so the magazine feels right. The size or the clip, whatever you want to call it, it feels right. The sound is good and the feel of the weapon is okay. I wanted to see how many clips it would take to kill a max, as I've done with all 3 weapons, just to compare them. Also, I was doing a few distance tests to try and fully understand the new weapon. They do decent damage, but in the long run, these are going to be more close quarter combat style weapons because they're carbines. Now, I'll give my overall thoughts on the new weapons once I play all 3 factions. Next is the new conglomerate's MGR C1 Charger. The Charger has a higher rate of fire than the typical NC Carbine and has increased damage for the first few shots of every fresh reload. Okay, so the Kindred is lacking the audio file, and that's okay, because I think the rate of fire makes up for that, at least for right now. It's super quick, feels great, and it looks amazing. The clip size is pretty good, and the damage marker being high after each reload, I think the weapon is almost ready to go.
Enemy light assault in the area. Hostile light assault trooper spotted. Enemy engineer in the area.
And last but not least, the MGC1 Kindred is for the Terran Republic. The Kindred is a hard-hitting carbine with a short period of increased fire rate every trigger squeeze. Okay, this weapon feels comfortable. Now, let me explain that. It reminds me of the Promise, and I know it's an LMG, but it feels very similar to me, at least. I think because I like the Promise so much that I know the weapon and I already feel comfortable with it. I hope that makes some sense to a few of you guys. I'm sorry if it didn't. Now, my overall thoughts for these weapons. Okay, the Horizon feels like a decent weapon. I really like the idea of the 3 pellet spread shot. I don't think they'll do too much to the weapon before release, but then again, it's the PTS server. Anything can happen. But the reason behind that is because it feels balanced. The Charger feels like a downgraded Promise to me. I know the Promise is an LMG, but that's just what it feels like. I mean, overall, the gun feels sturdy, even with a small clip, and the Kindred, in my opinion, takes the win for the best feeling carbine in this batch. And let me remind you again that this is the test server, so any and all of this could change. The weapons feel good. They feel incredible, actually, especially the TR version. The clip size, the weapons, time to kill, and everything is great. Now, I know this video was about the content, but I wanted to add my own little personal opinions here and there, especially about the weapons, and I'll keep them short and sweet for now. If you guys want more information about the weapons, I'll be playing them once they're live, so if you're going to be wondering if you should get these guns, then be sure to stick around and look out for those specific videos. Moving on, there's going to be a new content event called Refine and Refuel. The Refine and Refuel content event has been added to the rotation on the public test server. This event is still a work in progress. At the start of the event, 2 refineries will spawn towards the center of the map, and there will always be 2 available on the map at all times. Players are tasked with harvesting cordium and depositing it into one of the refineries. When a refinery is full, it will blast off into orbit, and a new one will spawn at another location. The faction with the most refined cordium at the end of the event will receive access to the very work-in-progress WASP prototyped air vehicle. The WASP is a Valkyrie variant that has a nose-mounted mining laser, accordion-fueled air afterburners, as well as a pilot-operated dual rocket pods. The WASP is available to spawn at the warp gate of the Victorious faction. So that sounds pretty interesting. I remember seeing it from the dev live stream. Now let's talk a bit about the Join Combat revision. Join Combat now works on a priority system when deciding where to send players, which is incredible, guys. First, it looks for ideal populations and balanced fights. If none exist, it'll simply look for balanced fights. If none of those exist either, it will send the player to attack an enemy frontline base, even if the base is empty. In addition, it now makes decisions on how to send players to fights. First, the system looks for hard spawns at the chosen locations. If none exist, it will look for soft spawns at the chosen location. If none of those exist either, it will send a player to the location in a drop pod. In the future, we'd also like to sort players into unlocked vehicles with open gunner seats. The devs added a little note saying, reconstructing Join Combat in this way allows us to deliver players to an ideal Planetside experience first, wherever they're available. We then focus on intensifying balanced fights that currently exist, while helping generate new fights along the front lines. These changes work hand in hand with the spawn system revamp mentioned below. Now, the spawn system revamp is quite interesting, and I'll give you my opinion in one moment. Let me just read the dev note for you. It says, we've recently made large revisions to the spawn system that will help filter players into more enjoyable fights, discourage overpopulation as it moves from base to base, as well as allow for more freedom to move around the map. The current live spawn system is too restrictive. It doesn't point players in any particular direction. Veteran players will often resort to hopping from spawn point to spawn point in order to reach the fights they want to participate in. At the same time, players are discouraged from leaving their current lane, which contributes heavily to the formation of zergs that then move down a lattice line unopposed. This experience is detrimental to new players and veterans alike. These revived spawn rules now work on a priority system, with ideal spawn locations appearing first and additional spawn locations appearing after a longer wait period, effectively throttling how quickly players can redeploy around the map while still giving them the option to do so. Now, they broke down the priority spawn locations into 3 separate tiers. The first being the default spawn timer. You'll have access to your warp gate, the last spawn location that you used, or spawn point, the spawn beacons of your squad, and squad spawnable vehicles. They also added to the first priority list other spawn points within your current region if that region is not overpopulated, and ally regions adjacent to an enemy region with less than 12 players at it. Okay, priority 2 spawn locations, they've given additional wait time to. It says spawn locations in your current region if your region is overpopulated, allied regions with adjacent enemy territory with less than 96 players and aren't cut off from the lattice. Finally, outfit-owned regions that are not overpopulated and aren't cut off from the lattice. And finally, priority 3 spawn locations has the longest wait time, and I'm not sure of the wait time yet. Said allied regions without enemy adjacency and aren't cut off from the lattice. These changes give players the ability to jump to low populated regions to start moving down lanes with less occupancy, prohibits players from redeploying directly into overpopulated regions from outside of them, and slows down the respawn time in overpopulated regions when your last used spawn point is destroyed. Here's a dev note. We have a lot of flexibility with this system to either loosen up or clamp down harder on the rule set, and will undoubtedly make adjustments as it continues to shake out. Now, my opinion of this is I love it. There have been so many times, especially on live streams, where I can't cut and edit this part out where I am spawn jumping from base to base just to get to somewhere I want to go, and I don't want to pull an air vehicle because it would use my nanites. So I think this is going to be a very, very, very smart decision by the devs to add this into the game. Now moving on to the vehicle weapons. This new weapon is called the M202 Wyrm. It's for the Scythe, Reaver, and the Mosquito. They're wing mounts basically. It's a ESF secondary weapon that fires hard-hitting, slow-moving rounds at a low rate of fire. Functionally, the Wyrm is a more sustained fire, alternate to an air-to-air lock-on weaponry for hunting large air targets. And it has the versatility to defend against enemy ESFs if the user's aim and prediction is good enough. This weapon is still work in progress, guys. Please leave feedback once you've put some time in with it on the PTS. So, I mean, if you guys love playing air, please head on over to the test server. The devs would love some feedback from you guys. Now, to be fair, I don't have an opinion on this weapon. I rarely play in the air, so I doubt I'd be using this unless you guys want me to try it out and make a video with it. But overall, it sounds really good, and the damage is really nice. Also, it feels pretty good. So, the Wyrm I'll give it a thumbs up. Now there were some major changes to the air-to-air game, like with the lock-on missiles. I'm just gonna put this on the screen here. Again, I don't really play the air game, so if you guys want to read over this, then be sure to hit pause, and I'll leave it up for a few more seconds so you'll have time to do so. Now, I'm just going to say this really quickly. There was some updates on the NS operatives. They've made some changes to them. They're still working on it, so the more people who play on the test server, the more feedback they're going to get. And hopefully by the March time span, the NS operatives should be out. Anyways, that's what Rel told me. So I'm looking forward to that. Last but not least, a few miscellaneous changes, fixes, and additions. The repeater should no longer have access to a single fire mode. Also, when a faction locks a continent, their victory anthem will play. And finally, players in a loading screen should no longer appear until their loading screen is dropped. So, no more knifing the halfway loaded in players. That'll be nice. So nice, and I'm so glad that they're fixing that. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video and my overall thoughts of this entire update. So the new Carbines are awesome, and I believe they'll make a great addition into the game. I love how they're adding in new events and changing up the spawn system as well. The new air wing weapons look and sound pretty cool too. Again, I don't play much air, so guys, I need you to tell me, are the changes to the air needed, or are the new changes going to have a huge impact in the sky? Please let me know what you guys think of this update. I love it, and I cannot wait for more content like this. And I can't wait to get my hands on the new Carbines. Carbines are my favorite weapons in the game. Okay, guys. Like and subscribe for more videos, and be sure to smack the baby bell below so you get notifications when I upload or go live. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.